Sponsored by Taylor Freelance, Rainier Ballistics, Hodgson Powders, and JPL Precision.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Power Factor. Today we're actually honored to have one of John and my shooting buddies here, Albert. We've been shooting pistols for quite a while, and then you finally saw the light, so to speak, and like many other people that we also know that have started to shoot shotguns. So Albert, you started shooting more frequently in terms of shotguns. How long ago? About a year ago or so?
About a year ago, I started shooting shotgun, and I haven't put it down yet, and I haven't shot a pistol round since. So,
this story sounds familiar.
It does.
Yeah, I think in my case it's coming up about 3 or 4 years now.
So, what drew you to the shotgun sports?
I threw my back out on
At the multi-gun stuff too.
No, I threw my gun out at a practice match. And it never got better. So I took a break and started shooting shotgun. Because when I tried 3-gun, my worst skill was actually shooting, flying targets, and I couldn't hit anything. So I picked up shotgun to try and fix that problem.
Thinking you were going to fix your 3-gun shotgunning problem.
Right. And I haven't shot any 3-gun.
It's a whole new problem
Since then.
Yeah, actually it's not a problem. Yeah, good. It's an interesting story because there's been a lot of people that we know who are pistol shooters who have just come out and played around with shotgun, and then it turns out that's what they shoot now.
Yep.
So slowly but surely, John and I will convert everybody. I can hear all you IDP and USPSA guys and the director saying, no, that'll never happen.
Yeah, I've got lines on a couple of nice shotguns for the director.
Yeah.
They're in his price range too.
Right. Free?
No, not quite free. They're not mine.
Yeah. So the reason Albert's here for this episode, and actually you're going to see Albert in some more future episodes, I think that we're going to do together. We've got a couple different ideas we've picked around and stuff, but regardless. John and I have been talking about doing this episode for, realistically speaking, years now. The discussion this week is on shooting glasses, but shooting glasses as it pertains to shotgun shooting. And you and I mean, since the beginning when we started thinking about episodes that we could do on shotgunning, the shooting glasses thing was one of the major issues, because I personally feel that in terms of the shotgun sports, that shooting glasses are probably one of the most important items for that game than possibly, and if you look at pistol or rifle shooting and everything, just because of the importance of them. And Doug did an excellent episode on glasses, and so did Larry, but I think this will kind of be the end-all, be-all, I would say, in terms of the final word, so to speak, on glasses.
You're into honest-to-God shotgunning glasses, where the glasses that Larry and Doug had talked about, basically Rudy's that used for multi-gun and for handgun.
Right. Yeah. And so from Albert's point, Albert has gone through different pairs or different manufacturers of different shooting glasses, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring Albert on, is that you currently are shooting probably the highest tech, if you want to call it that, shooting glasses out there. And the reason I really wanted to get you on here is to get your perspective of the different glasses that you've used and why you ended up with the glasses that you are using. But we'll get there. So actually, I don't normally do this, but there's a bunch of different things that I wanted to kind of hit here for this episode, and I wrote down some notes here. But generally speaking, and like we kind of hinted, is that in the shotgun sports, the glasses are really specific to the shotgun game. Unlike in pistol shooting and rifle shooting, the purpose of the glasses are really just to protect your eyes against, bounce backs or guns blowing up or whatever. But in shotgun sports, the purpose of the glasses are really to help you see the targets better. And something that Albert can relate to here, because you and I have shot together in tournaments quite a few times, is that literally a single target can be the difference between winning and losing.
Absolutely.
I mean, one target down, one target that you miss is the difference between winning and losing. And you and I was thinking on the drive here tonight, there's been three, well, we've shot in quite a few registered tournaments together, but there was one where we tied. There's one where you beat me by one target, and there's one where I beat you by one target, and there's a bunch of other ones that we've shot. But it literally gets down to that a single target can make the difference between winning and losing. And in shotgun sports, especially in competition, not the competition that you and I have shot, but a lot of the high-end stuff where there's money at stake, a single target could be the difference in thousands of dollars, literally, when it gets down to that. And I really believe that from that standpoint, that glasses are probably more important or more key or more critical to the shotgun sports than they are for pistol and rifle shooting.
Maybe we should back up a little bit. I think earlier you had said that the primary sort of purpose for shotgun lenses or glasses is for vision, but I think it is primarily for protection and then vision.
Right. Yeah, I don't mean to say that. Well, we'll get there, but there's one manufacturer that may have taken that whole entire approach backwards a little bit. But yes, I mean the obvious thing with shooting glasses is that you wear them to protect your eyes. And the secondary use, I would say, in the shotgun sports is to improve target acquisition clarity and being able to see the targets clearly. In the case of pistol shooting or rifle shooting, the glasses don't really pertain or affect so much of your ability to see targets.
Right, that's correct.
Unless you happen to be choosing a really, really dark lens for a really, really dark day, and of course in that case you're not going to see anything. And that's kind of a different story. But in the case of which we'll get into here about lens tint and everything of shotgun glasses, is that the choice of lens tint and what's called light transmittance can literally be the difference between seeing and hitting the target and not doing it, because you can't hit what you can't see. I mean, I think we've always all realized that over time, is that if you can't see the targets, you can't hit them unless you're just really lucky at sticking the gun in a certain spot, pulling the trigger, and
we
getting
know folks that do that.
Yeah, and we've done it a few times ourselves.
Well,
but,
yeah.
Right. So one thing that you'll typically see in terms of a shotgun-specific type glass is that the glasses tend to ride higher on your face. And the idea is that because in a shotgunner, when you're in position, you're usually into the stock like this, and your head is usually tilted forward slightly. And if you're wearing a traditional type glass, what will happen is the top of the frame or the frame itself will get into your line of vision. So what you'll see in shotgun glasses is that usually the glasses are shifted slightly higher. They're skewed or offset, or whatever you want to call it, higher on the face than a traditional glass will be. And I would say that's another one of the attributes or features of a shotgun specific glass, is that you can pretty much identify them as that. And there's different manufacturers out there that make them, and you'll see them. But that's one thing that you'll notice immediately in terms of a shotgun specific glass is the position on your face of where they ride. And the other thing, as we mentioned, gets into it is lens tint. Lens tint is everything in shotgun glasses, and for the types of glasses, the ones for shotgunning, you'll see a variety of lens tints available for them. You'll look at if you're not familiar with it, you'll say, well, why do you need 3 different tints of purple? Or why do you need, all these different particular lens colors and everything? And it can make a difference based on the color of the targets, the background, the light, whether you're shooting against blue sky or clouds, the background, whether it's green or brown or whatever. So you're going to discover all this you don't, like in pistol shooting, I picked usually one set of lenses, either yellows or ambers, and that was it. If it was in the winter and it was crappy weather, as it is often around here, I was wearing yellows. If it was in the summer, I switched to ambers somewhere around spring or whatever, and left them in for the rest of the year and didn't even think about it. But in shotgunning, you depending on the conditions of the day and the background, the target color and whatnot, you may end up changing your lenses as you do that. So, what are your guys' experience with that? How often are you changing lenses?
Every time I go to the range,
yeah,
I'll take a look at what the lighting conditions are,
right,
and how bright it is or dark, and then there's always our friends, the shadows.
Yeah.
And I'll just take lenses out is watch people shoot and look at targets
Right.
and just hold them up, not even put them in the frames or anything. Okay, yeah, that one, nope, that's not good. Okay, we're going to go with these today.
Right.
But
Right.
honestly, it's just about every time I go out, depending on what the lighting conditions are.
And it's just not just lens tint, it's the degree of tint
Right,
as well.
right.
Yes.
Because the degree of tint determines the percentage of light that it
Right.
actually lets through. So in a really sort of bright day, you want a darker tint. You want your eyes not to squint
Right.
at the target,
And that's
so that
the-
your pupils are open.
That's the key point, is that what I've heard is that you want the lightest tint that will allow you to be able to see the target without squinting your eye.
Absolutely.
That is the optimum point, because you're getting the most amount of light into your eye just from the point of you squinting. Because if you squint, you're going to reduce it, and it reduces your vision or whatever. So it's one thing that you want to keep in mind in terms of glass lens. Glass. If you want to call it light transmittance, this is what it gets down to. The choices that you want to pick the lightest possible lens that will allow you to see the targets in the color choice that you decide to go with. And that's, again, why we get into 3 different shades of purple. Why would you do that? Well, depending on how bright the light is that day, you want to pick the light transmittance that gives you the most amount of light in without having to
And what
squint.
color targets is the range?
Exactly, right.
Pinks, blacks,
Right.
really
Yeah.
orange,
Yeah.
whites.
Right. Yeah, and we'll get into that in
Yeah.
discussion here shortly about lens tint and the different tints and what they can contrast and what they do and why you choose them. So,
I think the new thing for me was coming into shotgun sports was the purple tint. In pistol, you'd never use.
you never see purple. No.
And in shotgun, it was really weird to see a purple tint.
For me, it's almost like the magic color.
Right.
Yeah, I remember you and I were shooting. In fact, all of us were shooting. Albert, John, and I typically shoot skeet all together. But there was one time that we were out and the light was really horrid down at Renton, and you pulled your purples out, and I swear that was like the magic color. You put that up,
I
and it
started
just
hitting stuff.
Yeah, but I even looked through it and I was like going, this. I wish I had purples, because this is just a perfect color for the background, the light conditions, and the color of the targets at that time.
Right. It suppresses almost every other color out there and just makes the orange glow.
And it also makes the green background turn brown.
Not totally, but when you take
right,
them off,
right.
after your brain adjusts to what's going on, you take them off. It's like everything is just so different.
Yeah,
It's like there's a real golden glow to everything.
Right. So in terms of lens or lens material, there's primarily 2 different types of lens materials out there. There's plastic, or what's called CR39, and then there's polycarbonate, which usually complies with what's called an ANSI Z87, I believe, standard, which is a safety glass standard. The history on it is that the plastic, or CR39, used to be clearer in terms of lens clarity, less distortion, made a better lens from that standpoint, and it also used to be easier to tint. In other words, to tint a lens to a particular color, the CR39 or plastic lens was very easy to tint. The problem with the plastic lenses is they are not shatter resistant. So if you get hit by something, the glasses will break, which is a terrible thing to have for a shooting glass. So the polycarbonate, back in the day, so to speak, offered, in terms of just impact resistance, was a better lens for that, but they were more difficult in terms to get of lens clarity. You would have some distortion, and also the lens tint also is more difficult to tint that. But times have changed, and they've improved technology a lot now that the polycarbonate lens now can be made clearer, or I should say distortion free, and also they take a tint easily. So there is, and this is really, people are rather shocked to see this, because this kind of came up on one of the shooting forums here, Shotgun World, last year, and I personally had seen it now actually twice. What's the proper name? Decot. Some people call it Decot. Decot lenses or Decot lenses, traditionally, if you buy them without specifying that you want polycarbonate, you will get the CR39 plastic lens. And a lot of people started pointing out, if you will, that they are not shatter resistant, and many stories about how they got hit by something or whatever and broke the lens. Before that thread actually started on Shotgun World, Lynn, who I shoot with up at Granite Falls, mentioned that he dropped his glasses once, and they literally split in two. And I thought, wow, that's really crazy. And I asked him if they were, Deco, and he said he didn't know. Well, 2 weeks ago, so we got new lenses for that about a year ago. 2 weeks ago, he was pointing out to me where one of the hooks are in the frames of his glass. He's got a stress riser, and it's causing a crack to go right across his glass. Again, CR39 lens material. So if you have Deco or Decot glasses or shooting glasses, I would seriously advise you to consider maybe either checking out what lenses you have or changing glasses, because they are not shatter resistant, and if you get hit by something, your glasses may very well break as a result of that. So, word of the wise, I guess, if you want to call it that, on that subject. So, in terms of glass style, you'll note here, this kind of is true with just pistol shooting glasses or glasses in general, that generally speaking, you're going to see wraparound glasses versus what I would call a traditional glass, where like your glasses or whatever, where it's a flat glass. And people like the wraparound style from the standpoint of just having protection on the side of their right. And that's really true also like in pistol and rifle shooting, where you're shooting at a target, you got a berm over there, rocks fly up, you turn your head or whatever, and crap can hit you in the side of the head. But it's also true in shotgun sports, especially like in skeet, where you're standing at either station 1 or station 7, and you break a bird and you get hit by fragments of the target coming in. So a lot of people in the shooting sports will like a wraparound style versus a traditional style. But I can tell you a personal story on that subject. I've never worn glasses. As growing up, I always wore contacts as a kid. And then about 12 years ago, I went in and got LASIK done. And that lasted for about, 12 years. And I noticed my right eye started shifting slightly. So at any rate, this year I thought I would go out and I've always worn wraparound glasses up until this point. And this year I thought I would go out and get some dedicated or specific shotgun glasses. And I went with a traditional flat type glass style. And I can't prove that it was that, but my shooting turned to crap immediately after getting those glasses. And the one thing I noticed is that I could see the edges of the glasses in my peripheral vision. Even though I wasn't looking at it, I was aware they were there. And when I was shooting, I never could say, oh yeah, I remember while I was, looking at that bird or whatever, I all of a sudden saw the edge of my glasses. But I couldn't explain it any other way, that from the standpoint with that over 3 different occasions of shooting, my shooting prior to that was great. During those 3 occasions when I was using the new glasses, it turned to crap. And I thought, maybe this is a coincidence, maybe not. So I switched back to my original glasses with the wraparound and immediately started shooting better again. And I thought, well, maybe it is something to do with that. Maybe, just from the standpoint that I've always had at least wraparound glasses where I'm not peripherally aware of the edge of the lenses, that to my mind, all of a sudden, I'm not aware of it, but it may be picking up on it and seeing it. So I would say that if you are that type of a person where you have not worn glasses or not used to that, and you go off and get a set of glasses, especially for shotgunning, I would highly recommend that you get a wraparound style or something like that, where the edges of the lenses are out of your field of vision, because I'm not going to say it can be distracting, but it may be distracting. So it's something to consider. But it also gives you the added benefit of just eye protection, which I think is really important from that standpoint.
I think maybe a good thing to point out is that when you shoot pistol, you're focused at the rear sight. So your point of focus is always right in front of you. And you're always looking at your rear sight and then the target. And the target's somewhat blurred to your vision. And in shotgun sports, it took me a while to get used to this, was that you're focused
still working on that. Yeah. All of us are still working on that.
Focused on that target, and the target has to be crystal clear.
Right.
And the shotgun is just in your periphery. So your eyes are not always down the center path. You're always looking around, looking for that target. Mm-hmm. So having that wraparound is actually very helpful, because when you have pistol glasses, you tend to see through the middle of that gap where the glasses sit.
Right. And that actually is a good discussion to bring up in terms of for shotgunners, we use our peripheral vision a lot more than a pistol or rifle shooter do. I mean, even though you may be looking, in a pistol shooter or rifle shooter, usually you're looking forward, you acquire a target, you shift your vision, literally you turn your head. Or initially it's turn your eyes and your head follows, and then the gun follows all of that onto the next target. But most of the time you're literally, right down the main, tunnel, if you will, of what you're shooting at. In shotgun shooting, especially in skeet or in doubles, but not so much in trap because everything's pretty much going away and you're only shooting one round, unless you're shooting doubles, but it's pretty much out in front of you, is that your second target that you're shooting at may be coming out of your right, your left, high, low, wherever the case may be. And your peripheral vision, I think, plays a lot more, or is a lot more important, or a lot more significant to you actually breaking that target and being able to pick up on it early to be able to get in sync with it and be able to shoot it. And that's why I think that the peripheral vision is even more important in shotgun shooting than it is in pistol shooting or rifle shooting, which then gets into the discussion of people who have to have corrective lenses or correct their vision. There are really, that I can think of, there's only three choices or three ways you can go. Well, four if you want to say you're going to go off and get it fixed permanently with LASIK. But your choices are a ground lens, in other words, a dedicated lens that you have for shooting. But the issue there is that, okay, you're going to have, different tints, or you're going to stick with one tint. You're going to try to pick one tint that just does everything, which usually, like you were saying, there really is no one tint that does everything.
And that gets real expensive to have.
Multiple ground lenses of different tints.
And they may not work real good from a distortion.
Right, and that's the point, is that usually when you have a ground lens like that, is that it was ground correctly in the middle, but as you get to the outer edge, especially if you have a wraparound type glass where you start bending in both the vertical and horizontal, that you'll get distortion and problems there. So that is an issue there with a prescription ground lens, of the problems that you run into with your peripheral vision or the lens style. So the second choice is usually an insert of some type, whether it's like you were pointing out in Sue's case, of the insert was up against the glass. Is that correct?
Or was it real close to it? It's behind the lenses.
Right.
But I don't know how to describe it. But it's still, pretty good distance in front of your eyes.
Okay. Now, was it similar to what Larry was showing?
It's exactly what Larry was showing.
Okay, right.
Because, we did the ride-on deal about 2.5-3 years ago. And she'd been shooting kerosenes, another Rudy product style, and she had the lenses with this prescription in them.
Right.
And she couldn't shoot them. She couldn't even shoot handgun with them.
Real, okay, yeah.
So,
and that's the problem with the inserts, is usually the inserts are fairly small within the glass themselves. So it's pretty much fixed that you're going to be looking straight forward, but you're going to have no peripheral vision that's going to be corrected.
Yeah.
Or especially that if you do, you're going to be, again, looking at the edge of that corrected lens, followed by an uncorrection, and cause problems.
She has had the prescription replaced, I think, twice since she got it, just because her eyes are changing pretty quickly.
Right.
And she can see really good with them compared to what she was using to shoot before. She likes them a lot.
All right. The other issue, I think, that people don't take into consideration is two things, actually, with the inserts, is that fogging is a major issue. And fogging, especially in this area during the winter. But airflow is the key to reduce fogging. And when you start moving that insert closer and closer to your eye, you're reducing the amount of airflow that's flowing through the glasses.
I've never heard her complain about
Really?
that.
Okay. The other issue, which is an annoyance, is depending on how long your eyelashes are, where those inserts are, your eyelashes will end up touching them, which can be a distraction, but you also get oil on the lenses.
I was going to say, Brian shot ride-ons for a long time too, with the lens carrier in it. And I don't recall him ever complaining about fogging.
Really? Okay. I have had
He shoots all the time.
Yeah.
It's like Albert.
I have had problems with, and this we'll get into in a bit here about why we chose the glasses we did, but I have had problems with my Rudy's fogging without inserts, because I don't wear inserts. So it can be an issue, but I think it may also depend on the conditions that day, what the humidity is and all that stuff, and everything.
You can do stuff about that, you know.
Oh yeah,
you can
I know.
put Rain-X on both sides of the lenses and they won't fog.
Really? Okay. But does it do any, well, so the question there is, does it do anything to the coatings in the lens, and does it do anything to the vision properties of the lens themselves?
Not that I've noticed.
Okay. All right.
In fact, I carry a little spray bottle with me.
Do you? All right.
You know, with,
okay.
A good soft cloth to clean stuff with, so if it starts to do that, I can hit them and then get on with it.
Right. So
I've never had that problem with fogging.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's just
too
me.
cool.
Yeah, apparently so. So the last choice in terms of correction is contacts, and it seems like if you go to the shotgun forums or various shotgun forums, this discussion comes up a lot of I need to have corrected vision. What's the recommendation? And everybody goes through the different options of either fixed lenses or lens inserts or contacts. And it seems like the recommendation is typically always contacts if you can wear them. And not everybody can wear contacts just because of eye irritation or tearing or whatever within their eye. But if you can wear a contact, contacts are pretty much seems to be the recommended way to go, primarily from the standpoint of wherever your eye goes, it goes. You don't have the corner distortion issues that you do or can with a ground lens or with inserts. And if there was a fogging problem, you wouldn't have with that. But the one thing, so what I ended up having to do now is my right eye has shifted slightly, so I have to wear, or what I actually do is I wear a contact in my right eye and my left eye is okay. And I just do that to slightly sharpen up my right eye. The only annoyance is that if your eye gets dry or whatever, and that lens just gets slightly off, it's worse than not having a lens in your eye at all. So you just blink a couple times or whatever. To correct it. So I've not had any real issues where I could ever say, oh, it's I missed that bird because my contact screwed up. I missed that bird because I screwed up. So
I'm not saying anything.
However, it would be good to be able to blame it on something else. So yeah. So I think the last thing probably for this discussion is why don't we talk about the different glasses that we have used or are using now. So why don't you start out?
I'm old technology, so I'll start. This should look familiar to you. It's pretty much the same package that Larry has, and it's pretty much the same kit that he bought. I got these, I want to say close to 3 years ago, maybe longer ago than that. And they're Rudy ride-ons. I like them a lot. I don't notice any loss of vision in the center, which I know is an issue. I've got whatever lenses came with it, and then I bought 2 different colors of purple. And like I was saying before, I wear the purples a lot. These are the light ones. It was kind of crummy the last time I was out as far as overcast and stuff. But I played with these and then played with the yellow lenses.
Right.
Just did that. They're reasonably priced. I think you can, and as Larry has pointed out too, there's all kinds of discount codes and coupons.
Right.
And I think I paid something like $240 for that.
Okay.
And that was a deal. And they work for me. And I'm just a fun shooter anyway. I don't enter tournaments. So
one bird lost to John is not that big of a deal.
That big a deal. I'm still going to go have a burger and a beer.
And now I'll be like, if I just hit that one last bird,
then I could have got a punch. I'll give you a punch.
Yeah, really. So John's story is kind of similar to mine. I started out with the Rudy lenses or Rudy glasses back about 10 years ago. And I went with what was called the Freon glass. And these are my yellows, and it looks like that. Like that. And it works pretty good in terms of being able to shotgun shoot. But one problem I notice is that, like I was saying in terms of fogging, is that there's not a whole lot of airflow here. But if I do get into a position here where I'm shotgun shooting like this, I am able to get the bridge of the glasses in my field of view.
And I shoot with a little bit more head upright position.
Because you have a high rib.
Yeah. And even without that.
Yeah. So the one thing I was doing to somewhat mitigate the fogging issue is not have the glasses as close to my face, but out slightly. So if I have them out slightly, though, then the bridge is even more, or I should say the frame is even more in my vision. And I just got to the point that I kind of ignored it for the most part. But so these were not too bad, but the problem is that these are basically long since discontinued from Rudy, and you cannot get lenses for them anymore. And that's kind of I would say my one gripe, if you want to call it that, about Rudy Project, is that they have a lot of varieties, they have a lot of different styles, they have a lens replacement guarantee, which basically says that if you scratch your lenses or whatever, I think you send them in for like with either 19 or 29 bucks or whatever, and they'll send you a new set of lenses. As long as they still have the lenses for your glasses and they're still in production, because as soon as they go out of production and they're out of lenses, you're out of luck. So the lens replacement guarantee is basically pointless at that point. I also experienced this last summer. I have a pair of Rudy Project sunglasses, and after 2 years and this is really strange, but one of my lenses cracked. Those glasses were already out of production. They were 2 years old. They were out of production immediately. And they fortunately had it was literally the last lens around in their shop that they had, which they sent to me for free, which was great. They fixed the glasses. They were technically under warranty, because their warranty on them I think was 2 years or whatever, or 2 or 3 years, but I just beat that. But I was literally in a position of, well, that's great, but we don't have any lenses for it. So I would caution the one thing about the Rudy projects is that they tend to, in terms of their current product catalog, they tend to turn it over pretty quick, it seems like. Yours have been around for quite a while. Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised in the next couple of years or whatever, yours may be discontinued also.
They've got a couple of different versions of the ride-ons on the website. I forget what the new one is. I think they take the same lens.
Do they? Okay.
I could be very wrong on that.
They have a lot of different styles and glasses, I will say that, at their website. So what I decided to do this year is, around Christmas, is go out and get
some more Rudy project.
Well, that's the bag for it. Yeah. Is a more of a dedicated shotgun glass, and I started out, as I mentioned, with I looked around at the different manufacturers, and one of the ones that popped up frequently was Randolph Engineering. And just to give you a slight backstory here, Randolph actually has a very interesting story. They're literally the last U.S. manufacturer of glasses that are still around. Everything else is coming in usually from offshore. I'm going to say their claim to fame is that they are the prime military contractor to the Navy and to the Air Force for aviation glasses, and still are to this day. They have a fairly large contract that they're filling, or have been filling, on that. And I think they acquired that contract, I believe it was in '78, somewhere on that. But they've been doing it for quite a while. From everything that I've heard, they have a really good guarantee. They have a lifetime guarantee on the frame itself. And that meant a lot to me. So I initially ordered the style called the Edge, and I actually talked to you and asked you what you had, because you had, well, we'll get to your story about what you went through, but you had those glasses, and I thought, okay, well, that'll work for me. I'm cheap. I'm not going to go out and buy the most expensive ones, and they're I'm going to say a semi-flat lens, but it's not a wraparound style or anything like that. And got them, and like I said, I shot like crap for about 3 different outings. And I thought, wow, this is just not good. I can't blame it on the glasses. But then when I switched to these other, my Rudies went back and started shooting much better. Maybe it was the glasses. So I contacted Randolph, and they said, send the old ones back, and we'll give you whatever you want to try. I thought, that's cool. Yeah. It turns out they have a 30-day, basically complete 100% exchange policy, and I was within 30 days on that. So I decided to go with what's called the Falcon Pro, which is their latest glasses that they have. So this is what the Falcon Pros look like, and as you can see, they sit higher on my face. They look more like your traditional shotgun glass, where the frame is higher, so that if you come down into a position, the frame is not in my line of field here. So that's what I ended up going with, and I really like them. They've worked quite well for me in terms of just, I'm really happy with them in terms of just shooting and what they do. So you have hit Not only the
I've done all
Rudies,
three.
but you've done something else.
Actually started with the Rudies. I still have the Rudies, the Genetech for pistol,
which is a single lens.
which is a single lens, but it sits low so that for shotgunning you're actually looking at the top of the lens. So I still have those, but I don't use that for shotgun. Then I went to a Randolph Edge.
Right.
Which is what
That's what I ended up going with.
bought the first time. But I ended up getting rid of those because they were really heavy for me. You know, I felt them sitting on me. I was always aware that I was wearing glasses. So a friend of mine had a pair of Pillars, and I said, "Hey, Brian, can I try them?" So after trying them, I actually bought them, so that's what I landed up with. So the Pillars come in a very nice case, as you can see. You know, it comes with a 3-lens kit, and the nice thing about them is that they're very light. The temples are made out of titanium with a carbon fiber cover. They weigh almost the same as the Rudy Genetech. So, you know, when you put them on, you can see it sits really high, and then when I'm shooting, you know, I can see to the top and in between, and I don't have the glasses blocking my view. They also interchange very, very easily. You know, you could change lenses in almost like 5 seconds flat with these. The nice thing about these, they also have a lifetime warranty. I think they're like $79 and maybe $89 for if you scratch your lens, you can get them replaced. But they're much more expensive than either the Randolphs or the Rudies.
Right.
I think they run in the $800 range for a set of 3. The interesting thing about these is that Don Curry of the NSS or NSCA actually did an article, and he also liked these lenses because of the optical clarity. So he looked at you know, the best material that you could use to make safety glasses would be mineral glass, and that would give you the best sort of optical clarity. Now they could actually measure that optical clarity and with the Abe scale. So mineral glass would run about 60 on that scale, and these things run about 54, and sort of normal sort of polycarb sort of safety glasses are in the 24 to 28 range. So there is a measurable difference. Now, is it significant? Well, I think only you know, you can tell. Does it make a difference in shooting? Probably not. But I think, you know, it's comfortable, it's cool, and I like them. So that's how I landed up with these. And I have a few lenses with them. This is the 78HC, what they label as 78HC, which is 78% transmission of light.
High contrast.
So, and it's high contrast. So it actually takes out about 22% of light because of the filtration.
Yeah, so when Albert was talking prices, just to give you in terms of like on the Randolphs, the kit that I bought, I think was $379 with 3 lenses. And the Falcon Pros are actually a fairly new lens style, and one of the complaints that people have had against those is that there just isn't the broad different variety of the lens colors and tints available for those at this point. I think there's only like 6 or something like that out of their product line. The Edge or the XLW or the XL frames have just a gamut of different choices, so that's the one comment. Megan Pisani, who at Randolph, who helped me out when I had my Edge issue, I asked her about that, and she said that they are planning on coming out in the next year or so of different lens tints and everything. So that's good. So if you're looking at something to get, don't shy away from the Falcon Pros because of the fact that there's not a whole lot of lenses out there right now for it. There will be. But that I realized we didn't talk about lens tint or the different lens tints and what they mean and what different lenses are for what. So I posted this on our Facebook page just as information many months ago, but I thought I'd bring it up here again. And this is just simply the information I'm giving here is from Randolph's perspective, but the same thing I think applies for the most part to Pilla, and also to Rudy in terms of lens tints and what they do. In terms of lens quality, I know for a fact that the Pillas are is it Zeiss or Z's? Zeiss. Okay, so they are Zeiss lenses. I also understand that the Randolphs are Zeiss lenses also, but they don't advertise it, and that's one of the reasons why they don't charge as much for their glasses, because they're not paying, I think, to advertise or the trademark name from Zeiss for it. But like as you pointed out, there may be Zeiss or there may be Zeiss, so it's really hard to say what degree of lens quality you're looking at there. But I can tell you information I've read, and if you're interested, I can actually give you a link to where I got it from. But a guy posted a story, actually wrote an article about going to the Randolph factory and mentioned how on their shipping dock they had boxes and boxes of lens material that had come in that was from Zeiss. So at any rate,
even interesting note there is if you go to Pilla's website, they have Zeiss lenses, they have Vivex lenses, and they have Vivex 2 lenses, and evidently there is a significant difference. And I'm probably not the one to sort of.
I was just going to ask you, what's the difference?
Right. But I'm sure that there is.
Yeah. So which is the top end? Is Zeiss the top end, or is the Vivex?
Vivex 2 is the top end.
Okay. Interesting. So again, this is information from Randolph. You'll find it similar for others, but so what they list here in terms of lens tints is pale yellow. The attributes are brightens and contrast colors and low light conditions. Excellent lens for hunting or target shooting at dusk, dawn, or evening under lights. And their light transmittance on that is just about 91%, which means and I had those lenses when I got the Edge kit. And it was nearly a clear lens, which is a slight tint of yellow to it, just to contrast the birds a little bit. The reason I went with that lens is I thought, well, if you're ever shooting at night or whatever the case may be, it would be really great if you had a clear lens, because in my experience of shooting at night is that you really want clear, even yellow. In my experience, a dedicated yellow lens is too much or not enough light transmittance at night. So that's the reason why I went with that one and the original Edge. Medium yellow highlights orange clay targets and enhances contrast in low light or overcast conditions. Your light transmittance on those is about 84%. And that's what I have actually in this kit is what they call medium yellow. I've shot with those, they work great. But for the most part, yellow is always around here my go-to lens color choice for most shooting conditions. It's because of the fact that it's either overcast or not exactly really bright conditions out. We don't have the problems that, I shouldn't say problems I would like to have, like Phoenix, where it's really warm and really bright and stuff like that. But
or you're walking in the woods.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and that's the other thing is that so where I'm shooting at Granite Falls, even on a bright sunny day, I have worn yellow glasses there just because of the fact that there's so many shadows. You're in the woods. It's darker than if you're standing out in the middle of the trap field or whatever. And I found that the yellows worked out really well there. Next comment here, or next choice, is orange. Excellent all-around lens for orange clay targets, blocks haze and blue light, and enhances the orange of the target. So that one has a light transmittance of 71%. I have not really shot with orange, except my glasses that I have now, which are actually what they call a high contrast, is kind of, I would say, a combination of orange and brown to a certain degree. Right. Or is that a copper?
I don't know. I think that's a copper.
Yeah.
From the back side, it almost looks like a racing red.
Yeah.
I think they call it a bronze, isn't it?
I think that's the dark one, the brown one. They got a million.
Yeah, they do. So light purple provides excellent contrast of orange targets against green background or sky. It dampens the green and enhances the orange target against trees, and this one they're saying 62%. That's what you use a lot, and they really do work.
No, I do the dark one.
You use the dark? Well, that's coming up because that's the next one here. Dark purple is a great lens for very bright conditions, provides a contrast for orange targets against deep blue sky, an excellent lens for glare reduction and snow. That one's at 30%, so it's getting to be much darker.
And I think that in Rudy that it's like a 26 or a 28%.
Okay, yeah. And so my kit that I got on the Falcon Pro consisted of what they call the medium yellow high contrast, which is coming up here, and the dark purple. And I was using the yellows, but then switched to the high contrast because it really, in my experience, does contrast the birds more against all the backgrounds that I've shot against, at least so far, under any light condition, either if it's bright or cloudy or whatever. It seems like it's a good go-to lens. In the summer, I may switch to the purples or whatever and see how that works. But again, since I'm shooting in the woods a lot, I may just stick with the high contrast and leave them in year round. Next choice is vermilion. Terrific lens for shooting against green backgrounds. Works well for those with red-green color deficiency. So make a note of that for those of you who have red-green issues. Highlights orange and dampens green. This is probably the closest thing to what Rudy called the racing red lens, and those for pistol shooting I thought really worked well.
I had some Wiley X's with a vermilion, and I liked those a lot.
Okay.
But that was, again, shooting handgun.
Yeah. So the next one here, they're starting to get into high def. What they call HD 52 offers incredibly crisp, clear vision by incorporating precise technology that filters out blue light to increase contrast while perfectly perfectly targeting the shooter's mark. Boy, this sounds like marketing babble.
Yeah, it does. So what color is that? Oh, that's the HC52?
Yeah. This lens is the expert's choice for medium light conditions, great for red-green deficiency, light transmittance 52. And that's, I think, what the lens I have. I think I have the HD71s. So the next one here is the HD71. Offers the same clarity and crisp target view as the HD lenses, however, goes a step beyond giving the shooter a flawless edge in dimmer light conditions by cutting through haze and reducing stress on the eye with very subtle, effective tint, and that's at 71%. Again, good for reducing red-green deficiency. And then the last ones here are their premium lenses, which is a copper polarized. This lens blocks against undesirable blue light while improving contrast in other colors. Excellent for shooting targets against green background on bright days. That's at 12% light transmittance, so that's really dark. And then Color Mag, which intensifies orange targets against any background with a light transmittance of 18%.
Now I had those color mags with my Edge.
Okay.
And I shot the Area 1 match, pistol match with those. And on a bright day, I have to say, everything pretty much disappears, and if you're shooting an open gun, that red dot just glows. You can't miss that dot. And if you're shooting a fiber optic rod on your limited gun, it just
jumps
out right at you. I don't think there is anything out there that does that. And I actually showed it to a buddy of mine at Area 2, and he thought, man, I should go get one of these, because now he could actually see that, his sights really well. The Pilla doesn't have a color mag lens, otherwise I would have bought it. But I think the other thing to think about is you don't want to go all crazy with 10 different colored lenses.
That's true.
I tend to use a light yellow if it's a dull, overcast day. Raining.
Yeah.
I tend to use a darker lens in full sun, and then I have another lens that's in between. I generally carry, maybe if I'm shooting, I'll wear a lens and I'll carry a spare one just in case either it got darker or it got much brighter. And I think if you have like 9 or 10 different lenses, you tend to go crazy and you go, what am I going to use next? Yeah. And I think that would just totally defeat
I think you're right, because I'm in the same thing, is that I typically have 3 different lenses that I'm going to go with.
Right.
A yellow for, like you were saying, a really dark cloud, fog, rain, whatever.
Right.
Something medium, that would kind of be like almost like a general purpose lens, and then something dark for when you're in just like full out sun.
Yes.
And my guess is you'll probably say the same thing, because I've seen you use different lenses, but I usually see you use
light purple and
light
dark
purple, dark purple,
right.
and yellow.
Yeah.
I've never worn the clear ones. I've played with the racing reds a couple of times, but I always go back to one of those three.
Right. So did you ever shoot any clay targets with the color mag lenses?
I did.
Or was it just okay?
I did. In bright sun, it is an awesome lens. You can see the orange just glows.
Yeah.
But that's also no different than, say, a dark purple. But the color mag is interesting because it doesn't. You don't feel like everything else is subdued. It just feels like everything's enhanced, but that orange or red
really
pops out.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, well, I think that kind of wraps it up, unless you guys have anything else to add here.
Pretty much beat glasses to death.
Beat them to death, yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, they didn't shatter or anything like that, so, yeah, unless they were decut, and they may have.
Well, don't go there.
But to close, shotgun glasses are different than everything else.
Yeah, that you can probably make that as your main takeaway, is that shotgun glasses are very different than your normal, what you would define as shooting glasses for either pistol or rifle shooting. But it's also more fine-tuned, if you will, to the game than I think pistol or rifle glasses are. I mean, like I said, the pistol rifle glasses are just there to protect your eyes for the most part. Shotgun glasses, obviously, they're there for that, but they're there for a whole lot more. So. Okay, so if you have any questions, the usual deal, you can send them to us at powerfactorshow@gmail.com. There's a website, powerfactorshow.com, and then feel free to comment on the Facebook page, which is facebook.com/powerfactorshow. So until then, we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.